don't have to worry about anything else. So that's the only thing we can hope for, is that it goes to the level of flu.
Yeah, that we learn from it. Yeah.
Yeah, if we learn from it and people stop politicizing it, it's crazy. Ah, I see Tana John's picture up there.
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะท่านอาจารย์
Hello, Dika. Hello, Ajan. Hello, Anina, everyone. So,
สวัสดีครับท่านอาจารย์
Hello Sarah
ครับอาจารย์ครับ
Hello, Betty.
โอ้โหนพดล
Ajan and
ขอ
Anina.
วันดีด้วยนะนพดล ไม่ได้เจอนานด้วย There's John. Hi, John.
ค่ะใช่ค่ะ Please carry on.
Hi Betty, nice to see you.
Nice to see everyone. I was just remarking that these Saturday sessions are so precious, so wonderful to have.
Yes.
If one of these days I don't have to go with my husband to the hospital on Mondays, then I can join that one too.
Betty, do you or Nina or anyone have any Dharma topic you'd like to start with? Or Mark? Go ahead, Nina.
No, nothing special.
Think of anything.
Okay. I was so busy with the Dutch group that I had no time for special things. Too many
I thought it
questions.
was a good point that was being emphasized when I think the discussion was with Jotika last time, but I'm not sure about how it's not a matter of changing the lifestyle or having less enjoyment, not enjoying the flowers or the food or anything as usual. So it's not a matter of having to make a special time for Dharma and cutting one's other activities. Life goes on as usual, but with more understanding. So this is how there's more confidence in the truth, more confidence in what is to be understood at the present moment, no matter whether gardening or going out to a nice restaurant, which Betty just mentioned, or any other activity, because the Dhamma is always here and now. Did you have any comment about that, Jyotika?
No, not direct. But
Because when people think
I ask myself, do I have to do nothing with meditation or with chanting or with just daily life, just knowing what is going on? That's the thing in daily life. And
we say knowing what is going on, it has to be more specific, because knowing what is going on doesn't mean knowing I'm playing some music or knowing I'm watering the flowers, but it means what is life right now. Seeing is now, hearing is now. So seeing is arising and falling away. It's going on. Hearing is arising and falling away. So what we think is going on is not what is actually going on. And the truth is there are just dharmas rolling on, going on, no one there, no thing there at all.
so it is ongoing sati, being mindful.
And
Well-
sati arises just when there are conditions for it to arise.
If we say being mindful, it can give the impression that it's something that can be done by focusing attention. But rather than knowing what is going on, I think it'd be more helpful to think of it in terms of having a better understanding of what is real at the present moment. Because the understanding to be developed is not at the level of the conventional idea of what's going on. So it's necessary to think of it in terms of understanding more about the reality that is appearing at the present moment. having a clearer understanding. But again, if the emphasis is just on that, then one forgets that the necessary precondition for that understanding is having heard the teaching and reflected on it. So if we just think of the Dhamma in terms of having more awareness of the present moment, having more understanding of what is appearing at the present moment, then it may be more sort of result oriented, and in fact it can lead to, it can itself be a kind of practice which is to be avoided.
I think, Jonathan, you made a really good point there. Quite often too, Jyotika, you hear a lot of people say things like be here now, and it's relatively meaningless, really. And it just reinforces a view that's not particularly helpful, and it's highly doubtful, or well, the development of understanding would not be possible. And so I think it's really important to consider some of those factors that Jonathan talked about the considering wisely about what's heard, that will be a support for the practice.
The realities like seeing now arise and fall away so fast. There's no time to do anything, to arrange anything, to try to be aware, to follow any practice or chanting or anything else, because each Dhamma is conditioned and arises and is gone. So if awareness arises, it has to arise very naturally, not by any trying to be aware.
So that is so different from sitting for meditation and bringing the attention to the heart or to the breath. That is just all kind of doing them.
Yes, it's trying to have awareness.
Yeah, but it is more doing than just being aware. Yeah, I won't say what is going on, but
Doing for the self, because the self would like so much to be aware, so the self tries so much, and the self thinks it can control and do something.
And Sarah's point that if awareness arises, it has to arise naturally, is exactly encapsulates the essence of the Buddha's teaching, that it's by having heard the Dhamma and considered it wisely that awareness can be conditioned to arise. So nothing that we can do will have any effect in that regard.
There's no beginner's class or something.
It would be so easy if that was the case, wouldn't it? Start at kindergarten and progress through until you graduate with honours.
The beginning is always now, Jyotika, always at this moment. There has to be the beginning now, beginning to understand what appears now, the visible object, the sound, the seeing, right now, and then gone, and then begin again, another reality. So what's gone is gone. It's always begin again at this moment, but not any self, not anyone who begins.
Yeah.
And
This is why it's so subtle.
Yeah. I understand, but that to me it's coming much later, that there is no self who is doing it. But you start from the beginning on with it. Yeah.
If there isn't the beginning to consider now that seeing arises by its conditions, not by I making it arise, if there isn't the beginning to consider seeing as Dhamma, not my seeing that I can make arise, the developed understanding of dharmas as anatta will never happen. So it has to begin with the wise considering now about reality as anatta, not by trying to practice or trying to do, because that will lead further and further away from the understanding of Dhamma as just Dhamma.
So in a sense, we can say, forget about any idea of having awareness, because that is only going to lead to directed effort to have awareness. Instead, awareness has to arise by its own conditions.
For a moment, it's enough, I think, for me.
It can sound very daunting in the beginning, because one thinks, well, however, could there be awareness arising naturally? Because for so long one has had the idea that awareness is something to be aroused.
Now, awareness, I doubt, but mindfulness is always said that it is not coming by its own, and that it is not automatically coming up, that you have to invite it.
I think it's better not to think of awareness, but more understanding. And understanding has to be first intellectual understanding. That's why we hear the Dhamma and discuss the Dhamma about seeing and hearing. And the Buddha also always spoke about seeing and hearing and thinking, and have more understanding of those as realities, but not worry about awareness, or is there awareness. That's not so much of use.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Nina, because the awareness that the Satipatthana Sutta talks about is awareness that arises with understanding. It's not something that brings understanding. It is something that arises together with understanding.
And it is intellectual understanding which can condition later on another step, another stage of understanding this awareness of the present moment, but not in the beginning.
And the idea you have to make awareness or mindfulness arise is the opposite of the Buddha's teachings, that dharmas are conditioned in different ways, but no self to condition anything. No one who can make anything arise at all.
But is then awareness and mindfulness is the same? You use it for the same? Is it the same?
Yes. The translation of sati, sometimes awareness or mindfulness, the same, yeah. The same reality. Sati.
Sati is completely different from conventional idea of mindfulness, like being mindful when watering the garden or eating one's food. This is not sati, it's just a conventional idea of self doing certain activities. Sati is a reality that arises with all wholesome chittas. And when we're talking about sati, which develops with understanding, it has to be at just those moments when there is the right understanding of realities. So quite different from a conventional idea. No one needs to listen to the Buddha to be mindful of watering their garden or eating their food carefully. This is not the wholesome Cetasika that develops with understanding and leads to the development of the path. Jan, would you like to add any comments or discuss any topic further?
I think that we use many terms like practicing or sati or mindfulness and awareness. But do we really understand the truth of that? And what is the purpose of just listening to different words, to follow it, to do, or to understand the reality which that word represents? So the point is to understand the word we use. For example, what is meant by practicing. See, what is it? For what? Are we now talking about everything like what is there? What is it? To just practice? And what is the goal or the result? The benefit of practicing? What does it mean? Otherwise, we just follow the word and the term by our own idea, taking it for something that one has to do. For what? What for? See? If it's clear, then we can understand the teachings of the Buddha. Not just to follow with the idea that I would like to, or I can do, or it's for me to have such and such. It's not just like that at all. But what is the most important thing is understanding each moment in life as it is, from birth to death. What is that? How come? Can anyone make it arise? For example, just right now, sitting, talking, thinking, and they're seeing all the time. Is it possible for just one moment at a time to be many things together at once in a moment? Impossible. That's why we learn to understand what we take for life or what we take for anything now as it is. Can anyone do anything at moment of birth? To arise, to be born in such and such moment, at such and such place, time, and so on. Impossible. That's why to learn to understand the truth of what is there. Where is it now? Is that just a moment ago? But where was it right now? Where did it go? Somewhere or nowhere, or completely gone, never to arise again. Only the idea of remembering it as something permanent, while it's not at all. There is nothing at moment when it does not appear. It's there. Only when it appears, after that, no more at all. Not any. Gone completely. Is that not true? So we are talking about the truth of life of each moment as it is, whether it can be taken for people and things, permanent, just there all the time. Even it does not appear, there is the memory about it that it's still there. But actually, it's not there when it's appeared. Who knows? It can be stolen or we don't know what happened. But whatever is there, just be there at moment of seeing and then gone. And the truth is more quicker than that. While it appears, it cannot appear just one single reality. There must be many, many moments unknown. But Buddha pointed out the truth to be studied, to begin to understand the truth which is covered up from eons and eons ago. Even it's there, no understanding of the truth of it, but hearing the right word about it. What is that which is there? without the reality which arises to experience? Can there be that moment of practicing or thinking or wanting or going on in life as usual? See, when there's no hearing about the teaching, life goes on by conditions. Who knows? Waking up, seeing, hearing, and then sleep again, and then wake up again, experience again from day to day, from moment to moment. See, who knows what are there in life? It's so very, very rapidly, just changing unknowingly from one moment to another moment. But there is clinging to that as something, because now nothing arises and falls away. It seems it's there all the time. The object which is seen even right now. What does it mean? Is it still there while there is seeing, while there is hearing, while there is thinking? Impossible to be in a single moment. So what is the truth of life? No one can tell. Only the enlightened one who has enlightened the truth and show the truth of whatever is there, to be studied, to have understanding, to have more confidence of the truth, because no one can change the truth at all. What about what was experienced this morning? Completely gone, even just a moment ago. Is that not true? So what is meant by practicing? What is the result of such doing? We call it practicing. But what is the result? To practice what? See, just someone told to do this or that and then follow, but no understanding of what is there and what does that word mean. Practicing or development. The development of what? Why does one practice or develop? And the moment of developing, can it be the moment of seeing? Because seeing just arises to see. It cannot do other thing at all. It's conditioned to arise to see. That's all. Can anyone stop it to arise to see? Impossible. Because this is what Buddha said, Dhamma, uncontrollable. It's conditioned. Why do we say this? Because it's there already now. If it's not conditioned to arise, how can it be there? For seeing, there must be the eye base and that which impinges on it. Condition a moment of seeing. Just to see and fall away. How can there be different ideas about it? It has to be later moment, not the moment when it's seen. Just study life from moment to moment. And this is the development to understand fully of the truth. That it is just right, it's taught by the enlightened one. And this is the way to experience it. But it's not anyone. It's only the developing of right understanding firmer and firmer to condition moment of unexpected moment. We cannot know what would be the object of awareness with direct understanding, developing little by little, until it can appear as it is clearly. This is not now, because now it does not appear clearly, because the seeing is gone and hearing is there. It's not clear what is what at all. But this is what life is. Different from what we use the word practicing, because it seems like one has to practice to have precise or whatever object is told to experience, and what is the purpose of trying to understand that as what? What about now? It's so true. No one can make it arise. It has a reason. So life has to go on by conditions, no matter before hearing the truth or after the truth, after hearing the truth. It's just by conditions. But the difference is that before hearing the words about it, about its truth, there is no understanding of the truth of that which is now appearing. But after hearing, there can be understanding the truth little by little. But life does not change, but it's moment of understanding whether there is awareness with right understanding of that which is usually known normally in life, but before that, no idea, no understanding about that at all. Just take it for something on and on and on, while it's not there anymore. So, understanding what's true and what is not true. To be true to the truth, satya. Otherwise, it's not the moment of understanding the truth of life, of whatever is there, the Ariya Satya. See, Ariya Satya is not something different from this moment, but it's the moment now understood the way it is, clearly as it is, little by little, onto the moment of different stages of understanding, because it can appear to understanding as it is, because now it appears, but to no understanding. But the way it is exactly the same. The difference is the understanding of the truth. What is seen, we have heard a lot. It cannot be anything, only that which can impinge on the eye base and then falls away instantly. As soon as one opens one's eyes, many different things are around. But what is the truth? Each has to impinge on the eye base, how fast it is to form up shape and form, as we use the word nimitta, of whatever is there, because how quickly, how rapidity it takes the arising and falling away, that no one can just develop the understanding of one single moment by way of processes. Impossible. That's why we learn to understand whether this is true or not. When it's true, it can be directly experienced for sure, but not when it's not yet understood as it is, little by little. And this is in the Tipitaka Bhavana, the development of understanding from hearing, Suttamaya Panya, Chintamaya Panya, Pavanamaya Panya, stage by stage. Otherwise, what is practicing? What is practice? What is there? Which practice? No understanding of any reality there at all. Use the word like sati, but what is it? At this moment, listening, is there sati? If not, when will be moment of sati? And what level of sati? It's just understand what is taught, what is said about the truth. Like now, there is a reality which arises and experiences an object. So true. What else can it be? It is that which experiences. Who makes it arise? No one. But without conditions, it's impossible to arise. No matter before hearing the truth or after hearing the truth, nobody can change the truth. But beginning to understand, little by little, not forget that what is there is only in a moment and then gone, never to arise again, even right now. And this is what is meant by developing understanding of the truth. And when it's wrong translated, one takes it for practicing, doing something. Doing, who do? When there's no one. So wrong understanding perform its function to go wrong, and right understanding performs its function not to go wrong, but to understand, listen, and know that at moment it's not me, it's not anyone, it's just moment of hearing and considering, because of understanding each word represents a reality right then. It's there to be studied, whether it's true or not. It's there just by conditions. That's why life go on being pleasant or unpleasant depending on conditions as usual, very delicious food, very pleasant moment, hearing the music and so on. But there are conditions for sati to arise unexpectedly when it's there. It proves that the understanding of no self is there strong enough not to be agitated, try to have it, or when it's there, what is it, and so on. It's so true, whatever is there, just when it's there. Different ones all the time. And it can be taught and studied and find out about the truth anytime, anywhere. No change at all. So true.
So
Because it's the enlightenment of the truth. Please.
it's
Go on.
also like hearing now, like hearing and confusion.
Yes, because confusing is not hearing. Different ones. Whatever is real is a reality, conditioned by ignorance. But when there is the understanding that now there's no confusion, because it's gone, and hearing cannot perform the function of being confused, because it is a moment of a reality conditioned by the ear base, and the sound is there, impinge on it, and depending on other conditions too, for hearing to arise. Without other cetasika, hearing cannot arise at all. And how come to experience different voice or different sounds? Some is pleasant and some is not at all. By condition, see. But the understanding is that no one can make anything arise. That must be further condition and close condition, proximate cause for such and such reality. It's that taught by enlightenment for 45 years about the truth of what is there. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, talking, whatever is there. What is the truth of it? Without the reality which arises and experience, can there be any time at all when nothing arises and falls away? Whatever is not known is taught to be known about the truth, which is there at any time to study, to consider the truth, even just right now. Confusion is real at moment when it arises and then gone. Understanding is when it understands and then gone. And ignorance is there when it arises and then it's gone. Condition the next moment. That's why we are going each moment. Can anyone can anyone not go? They are still here at this point? Impossible. Because actually there are only different realities. The reality which experience and the reality which cannot experience. Nothing belongs to anyone at all, because actually there is no one at all. Only thinking, changing from ignorance to have some understanding and develop on and on until it develops, like we learn anything from childhood, kindergarten, on and on, to be professor or whatever is there, little by little. And there is degree in Buddhism too, which is the word parinya. See, after vipassana jnana is directly experienced, the understanding cannot be gone completely, absolutely. Once it's there, never forget. Even that moment is gone, but the experience is there. And Sanya marks and remembers it correctly, little by little, more and more. So we learn about what is there now, each moment, to have the understanding of realities as no one and no thing at all. No control. It's gone. Yesterday, you were sitting somewhere doing something. Where were you yesterday? Now? And what about tomorrow? Not now, not this one now, sitting here, talking here. Different ones in tomorrow, when tomorrow comes. Is this not true? That's why no one can tell how much the other person understands. All depends on conditions. Paccattam. Just that person knows. That's why do we have to ask the other person how much I know? Like the master or the teacher of the meditation center. It's wrong. How can she know the other's citta or panya or right understanding or wrong understanding? But at this moment, what is seen, say, it's still something, the doll, the flower, the curtain, the bed, the chair. But actually, in just a moment, what really impinge on the eyebase can be seen only that. And when it appears as it is, it shows up its truth. Never change from its truth, but the rapidity of the succession from moment to moment covers up. That's why before just one nimitta can be known as its characteristic as different from other, it takes time to have more confidence of the truth of whatever is there now, as it is different ones. Hardness is there, no understanding. So what is sati and what is panya? What does sati is aware of? What is object that sati aware of? And what is that which panya understands? See? There must be whatever now when there's no understanding, and then hearing about it, consider the truth of it, beginning to let go wrong understanding, not by oneself, but at the very moment of understanding. At that moment, no misunderstanding or no ignorance of that. Just at that very moment. And when the understanding is gone, as whatever arises is gone, the conditions for not understanding, ignorance about the other thing is there. By conditions, until it's less and less and less. And this is the way to have less ignorance and clinging. By, not me, conditions, understanding only. No one. So it works its way when there is desire to have more understanding. It's the attachment or low part that we use the word like we know it, but it's there, lurks all the time, here and there, unknown. At the moment, at that very moment, it would like to know more. It tries very hard to know, but it's wrong because it's the I, not right understanding that actually there's no I at all. Only the moment of understanding can perform the function of less ignorance. So life goes on just as it is. And Panya knows that nothing can be done all depends on conditions. When there are conditions to be moment of direct understanding of what is there, it just arises and understands. Like that which now heart is experienced by the reality which experiences it. So it's not hardness, but it's the experience hardness. And no one thought about that, which experiences just have the idea about that which is experienced as something in life all the time. How thick, how deep it is for ignorance and attachment to just be there, no matter what is there. It follows, it oozes, it experiences with attachment and ignorance instantly until there is more understanding of the truth by conditions. That's why we have the word sati and sati sampajanya, sati patana, satindriya, sati pala, sati sampocho, and so on, when it develops to that degree. So now at moment of understanding, there must be sati, but sati cannot understand. And panya or sampajanya cannot be aware. See, different reality, different function, but they arise together, conditioning the other. Understanding the truth more about no one and no thing can be implanted, that it is there, ready to understand what is said as anatta, no one and no thing, little by little.
And Jyotika, isn't it a relief that when you consider there's no need to recite a mantra or follow a practice at a particular time to try and have awareness, that there is the letting go of these kinds of ideas, that understanding with awareness can develop any time?
Yeah, it must be a relief, but I cannot experience it in that way. It is
Like,
as if I do nothing. If I do nothing, and as if I understand nothing. When I do nothing.
what about now? What about now? Like now, no mantra, no trying to do anything. What about now? And just considering a little about different realities at this moment, like the seeing now or the hearing now, but nothing to be done at all.
Yeah, that's very beautiful. That's, yeah, but in between the hearing is coming thinking, is confusing, and then is clear, then I can follow, then it is confusing, then it is I cannot follow, I will never follow, doubt, and then yes, that's where it's going on. Yeah.
And it has to be like that. There has to be all those moments of doubt and moments of thinking, because it's so ingrained, the habit of I must do something. It's been accumulated for so very long. So it's bound to be like that. But in between all that doubt and thinking I must do something, there can just be little flickerings of light, little moments of reflection that actually know one to do anything. So it has to be like that, just a little bit more understanding in between.
It does hardly seem possible to me. Yeah,
just for a moment. And that's the way it can accumulate until it becomes more and more the normal, natural habit. Not to try.
Okay, yeah, it will happen. Maybe.
And because you come back every week and listen a little more, and consider a little more, it shows there has to be some wise considering in between all that doubt and those strong ideas of I must do. Otherwise, it would be impossible to listen like this again and again.
And more like you lose everything if you do not anything. It's just confusing. But is it true that I understood that confusing is not a reality? I think
it is a reality at the moment of feeling confused, of being bewildered or having doubt. It's real. It arises and then it's gone. A moment later, no confusion, no doubt. So it's there when it arises, and it's a reality. It can be known too. It's also not self. It's not my confusion, someone's confusion. It's just a moment of confusion and then gone. At moments of seeing or hearing, no confusion. At moments of wise reflection, no confusion. So it's just at a moment with akusala chittas and then gone. Nothing lasts at all.
Sometimes
sorry, when people hear nothing can be done, they may have confusion. But we also learn that all the perfections, paramis, have to be developed together with panya. So I can understand that this can be a difficult point, and it's good if Ajahn can elaborate a little more on that. Because nothing can be done, but on the other hand, there are all the perfections that have to be developed.
Yeah.
Do you do see it? See, there is seeing right now already. Do you do seeing? Because you said or you think that you have to do.
Yeah.
But now there's seeing. Do you do seeing?
Yes.
Really? If seeing does not arise, whereas are you still doing something instead of seeing?
No.
But when whatever is conditioned to arise, not you, makes it arise at all, right?
Yes.
No thought about making seeing to arise, but it's there already. So is it you who do the function of seeing? Or do you do now seeing?
No. I understand.
Then beginning to think about it.
Yeah.
The moment when it's not there. And then it's there by what? No thought about it at all. No idea to do seeing. No idea to have seeing arise. But seeing is there already by conditions. Sure. So the eye is no one. The object which is seen is no one. They are different realities. They are there. And what is the function? Why do everyone has the eye? What for?
To see.
Do we like it? Do we want it to arise? Or it's there by conditions? There must be conditions for seeing, for that eye, and for the object which can impinge on it. No one can make anything at all. Can anyone make that which can impinge on the eye base? Impossible. Can anyone make the eye sense for that to impinge on it? Impossible. And when even there is the eye base, but without that which impinge on it, can there be seeing? So when seeing is there all by conditions, that which is seen now has impinged on the eye base by conditions. How come? Without condition like Dhamma, Pajja, and so on, that we learn later, little by little, to have clearer and clearer confidence to understand it. It cannot be taken for I, which it has been taken for I for a long, long, long time. How can it let be gone instantly? Impossible. That's why from hearing and understanding little by little about the truth, to be true to the truth, to be so truthful to the truth. But I haven't made seeing to arise to see at all. And it's not I who sees, it's that reality which arises and experience that at that very moment and then gone. It's not told to arise, it's not told to gone away, but that's the way it is. So it's life, it's a reality, different ones arising all the time by different conditions. No one has created such reality in a day at all or any time at all. To learn to understand the truth little by little before that can be directly experienced, its truth as it is, to have more confidence of the truth. That's why the one who study the teachings and begin to have right understanding, respect the truth, respect the teaching of the Buddha, firm and firm, more confident, because the truth appears or show up little by little. So
But
is this true? This is the point. When it's true, there can be more truth about it to condition less and less clinging to that which has been taken from me or mine quite a long, long time in each life. Right now too. That's why each word can be understood right now about its truth. So there's no I, but there are different realities. One can experience, the other cannot. No one can change its nature at all. That which arises and experience just has no form, no shape, no smell, no taste. Just experiencing the quality, the moment when nothing is there, but the moment of knowing or experiencing something, only one at a time, in a moment. Seeing cannot hear the sound, and hearing cannot think. Each one has its own characteristic. No me, no I at all. That's why learn to understand each one as that which is the chief of experiencing. That's why whatever appears very clear to that which experiences it, but not as thing, only that which is seen. No idea about that yet, because it's just in a short moment. So what is the world? Just very short, and what appears is so very, very tiny when it's rupa, but when it's nama, no shape, no form at all. See, that is the beginning to understand clearly the difference between that which experiences no shape, no form, and that which cannot experience, but it has different characteristics, like that which is loud or soft as sound we heard, or smell, or taste, or touch, or thereby conditions. Learn to understand the condition for realities so that there can be less thought about I can do, or I make it, or who makes it, not I. But it's impossible for to be anyone at all, because it's only a moment of arising and then gone completely, never to arise again. And it takes time to understand the truth, because the truth is now. It's not somewhere, or it's not when we do something, but it's now already to be known from the word that we heard and consider the truth of it. So natural, can be very pleasant because it's still there. Lopa is there, enjoy life and so on. But right understanding, just begin to understand it, which is the unknown at all. No familiarity, no acquaintance at all. Not knowing what is what, just live with it and take it for I or something all the time. But what about the first moment in life and the last moment in life and after that? Nothing can follow at all. What is one's own property, even right now, clothes, dishes, bed, house, or just that which is in mind, accumulated ignorance or understanding. Because when it's the reality, which experiences an object, no shape, no form, no thing, no property at all.
So, Ajahn, when I sit here, I mean, being truthful to the truth is not a doing. It's not a doing.
Even the idea of I sit here, see, or I am sitting here, think about it carefully. What sits? What do you
Yeah,
mean by sit? When it's
yeah,
the absolute truth, it does not sit, right?
no. And
It's
I also
the
not.
body, what we take for body is hardness, and that which appears at moment of what you say for sitting is hard too. Only hardness and the experiencing hardness. Take hardness for my body or the chair. But in truth, the moment of experiencing hardness is known as nothing. That is the absolute truth. The highly developed panya, which we use the word vipassana or jhana, see, it's the moment of realizing the truth as it is in a moment, which means many moments, but in a moment means as nimitta of a moment. How fast it is, how repetitive it is, how can it rule the others as it's there for long or something. Like magician.
So the
See?
decision to link in every week, if possible, the decision is also not I'm deciding. It's just conditioning.
It's not just the word, but the moment when one reality is considered. For example, the reality which experiences seeing, liking, painful feeling, or memory. Do they have any shape and form? Just
No.
understand the difference between what are there in life, in the world, no matter what world. What is there? There are only realities. We don't call it anything Thai or Japanese or Laos or anything. But reality is reality, not a dog, a cat. Hardness is hardness. Is that not true? Can
Yes.
anyone change it? So there are two different kinds of realities. One can experience an object and the other cannot experience because whenever it arises, it's hard. Whenever it arises, it's flavor. See? And many things in life have its own characteristic as it is. Nobody can take it for anything because it's gone. But the succession, the rapidity of the succession of the rupa and the nama can be taken for a dish, a shoe, or whatever is there when they are together. And only when it appears just one at a time. But because of the rapidity of the arising and falling away, like pointing a dot on the paper on, and it becomes the mountain and the sea and the house and so on. Just one dot cannot be anything. Just one dot of hardness, can it be I sit on a chair? Impossible. So the truth is unexpectedly. Nobody can imagine beyond imagination or expectation how it is. Different world, the breaking world, just one reality arising and falling away. And that's Buddha taught as our conditioned reality arises and falls away. Dukkha, anicca, dukkha, and anatta. See, study each word to understand the truth. That it means whatever is there as Dhamma, whatever is real, that ever arises has to fall away. Instantly unknown, unknowingly, even right now, saying it's not hearing, it's not thinking, it's not experiencing hardness or softness, but it seems like they are there at once. But what we mean, because not understanding, not at once, many, many different moments together. to lure us. It is something. See? Is that not true? Touching, hardness, no thought about it. Can it be a chair or I sit? Impossible. So what we take for my body is only hardness, arising and falling away. And it's that real when it's conditioned to arise and experience and then gone, never to arise again. Even right now, what is touched, the truth of it is that it arises and falls away unknown. But since it's so true, Panya can experience it. Otherwise, it cannot eradicate the idea of self, never to arise again as that is I or permanent thing. This is the beginning for everyone, again and again and again, from moment to moment. And there's many, many enormous, uncountable conditions to condition next moment, on and on and on. So when there is the right understanding, this moment condition the next moment to understand better, not forget about what is heard, about the truth of it, little by little. So this moment is moment to consider whether it's true or not. For right understanding of the truth can be conditions for the next moment when it's there to arise again, different from this moment more than just at the beginning of hearing in the first time. That's all. Very slowly, it doesn't matter because it's not wrong, it's not false, it's not fake. So very precious because it can directly experience the truth so that the clinging to the idea of self and ignorance be completely eradicated, never to arise again in samsara. So implant the understanding of no me, hardness is hardness, not my body, not the chair. But since it arises and falls away so very rapidly that it forms up the shape and form to be remembered as something permanent as I, my body. But now, sitting the idea, but what is there? Sit, no sitting, right? Or is there sitting? I sit.
No, but
It needs more considering.
sitting,
Hardness is hardness. It cannot be other thing. So in truth, the absolute truth, the Four Noble Truth, is that anyone sit? As there is no one, so how can be sitting? See? No one sit because there is no one.
no, yeah. If there is no
This
one,
is the way to understand the breaking world. No more. Each moment.
yeah. So there's no one to link in. There's no one to develop the paramis. No one.
Right. That is the way to let go of wrong understanding and ignorance about what is there now. To be true to the truth, to understand the truth, because the teaching of the truth can condition moment of understanding what is there. See, there is the idea I'm sitting, but what is the truth?
There's no I to sit.
No one, no I, no sit, right? Because
Yes.
of no one. So what sit? No sitting. Only one reality is the object of that which experiences it and then gone. The experience and that which is experienced nevermore, from moment to moment. Yesterday was yesterday. A moment ago is just a moment ago, not now. And now it's gone. What is next is present now. That's the way to understand what is meant by past, future, and present moment of reality. Just to have right understanding of the truth, and right understanding cannot belong to anyone. It is moment of understanding different from moment of ignorance. So it's not me or anyone at all. Only moment of different realities conditioned. That's all.
Seeing
So
these different realities one by one is what can condition a better understanding of the reality of the present moment.
And when understanding that it is just seeing that sees, it is just hardness that's touched, no sitting at all in reality, and no one who can make the seeing arise or stop it arising, then it's just the same for the paramis. For example, metta parami. No one can make metta arise. No one can stop it from arising now at moments of kindness or friendliness, because it's a conditioned Dhamma. And it just arises when there are conditions and then falls away instantly. So it's just the same whether we're talking about the paramis or whether we're talking about rupas or whether we're talking about anger or any other reality. Each one just arises by its conditions. No one can make it arise. Even if we read something like develop the paramis, not anyone who can do any developing or who can make them arise at all. But as understanding develops of different realities, it understands the nature of different wholesome factors that support it and develop together with it, such as metta or nekama at moments of wholesomeness, at moments of truthfulness, and so on.
But it's understanding the ordinary, everyday realities like seeing and hearing and visible object and sound. It helps one to understand the conditioned nature of all realities, and that helps one to get a better idea of what is meant when it is said no self, no I, no one to do this or that. Because initially that can sound like a big leap, a big ask. It runs so contrary to our ingrained view of the world. But if the realities of the present moment are better understood as to their true nature, this will help the breaking down of the strong idea of a self or a permanent soul or such like that has control over the present moment.
And Ajahn says it takes time because we have accumulated so much ignorance all the time. But when we realize it takes time, it's already the perfection of patience, one of the perfections, which is so important, not to try to hasten the development of understanding.
And when there's the idea that the paramis need to be done or something needs to be done, this is the opposite of the development of Kanti parami, the opposite of patience, because it's I with desire that wants to develop the paramis, not the understanding that whatever arises has to develop very gradually by conditions, not by a self trying to get something done.
But Sarah, does it make sense to follow a course on the Brahma Viharas to understand better.
What about now? What about beginning to understand what is
Yeah, I
Brahma
know.
Vihara now?
Yeah.
For example, metta now. Because if there's no understanding when metta arises, how can it be developed? If one closes one's eyes and just tries to have metta, it's actually lobha trying to have metta, who for oneself, not the quality of just being kind and friendly and helpful to others when there is an opportunity. Like when one goes out in the street and passes people, is a kindness or friendliness at those moments, because those are the opportunities when it can be understood. And the main point is that metta or karuna or any Brahma Vihara, like any other Dhamma, is just a Dhamma. It's not my metta, it's not my compassion or kindness. It's just a reality that arises by conditions, not something I can make arise, not something that belongs to me at all.
But then I'm sitting here to listen and to understand better. Is that also lobha, lobha, lobha?
Well, it could be. Who knows? Only you could know that. So I think there are mixed reasons why we do things. Different, and those mixed reasons mean different moments, wholesome and unwholesome. But it's not necessary to analyze, why am I doing this? Is it wholesome? Is it akusala? Because that's not the development of the path. The development of the path is not about self-analysis. It's about just having a better understanding of what is appearing now, whether that be wholesome or unwholesome, or whether it be mental or physical, material, nama or rupa, whether it be the mental state or the sound or anything. So we don't need to pay particular attention to certain realities, like you say, attending a course on the Brahma Viharas. Of course, obviously, the idea behind that is to have more of the Brahma Viharas because they're regarded as highly kusala mental states. But what about seeing invisible objects that are appearing at the present moment? What about the hardness that's experienced as one is sitting in a chair, or the temperature of the room that is experienced through the body sense? So there is ingrained in us the idea that certain things are more worthwhile to be understood than other things. But in reality, that's not the case.
I wanted to ask Jyotika also if what's better, having lobha for what is true, for the truth, or lobha for what is not truth? Which lobha would you prefer? I would rather have lobha for the truth than being attached to what is not true. But that's my thinking.
That's a question for
Isn't lobha just lobha no matter the object?
As we know, akusala can be conditioned for kusala by Pakatupanisana Pachaya when in case like this, when because we all start with attachment. It's impossible not to have attachment just by deciding not to have it. So we have to we have to live with it, I think, in the sense that it's there anyway. So I don't think the point is to kind of repress it or saying it's not good to have it or things like that, but to understand it as a reality which is not self. And so I think that the starting point is Loba is there for sure. So why not understanding it as it's not understanding the truth of it, because it's not.
But that's true. Whatever kind of loba it is, like now, whether there's loba for the smell of the flowers, or loba for listening to the Dhamma, or loba for the soft cushion one's sitting on, softness. It's just loba. It's just a Dhamma, so common, so ordinary. Just loba, no matter what the object. Loba will always find another object and another object and another object by accumulations. And any loba can be the object of understanding.
And not trying to have, not trying to try is still loba. I mean, trying not to try is still loba because
and you want to be without loba, yeah.
Because it's still not trying can only be understanding. It's only understanding, which is the function of letting go and not try. So we can say, don't try to do this and don't try to do that, but we cannot condition panya to arise, which is the only reality which has that function of not to try. So trying is there, but if we know what is the wrong path, and we begin to see the point. It's no point in having loba for the teachings, for the path, because it will be the wrong path for sure. So it's just intellectual understanding about the what is right and what is wrong. And yes, please go on, Sundar. Hi.
I was going to say, I appreciated the point you were originally making there, Alberto, because when there's understanding, you mentioned pakatupanasya pachya. So when there's understanding, there can be understanding of lopa. I thought it was a very, very pertinent and relevant point, and I appreciate you making it. Rather than wanting to go here or there, and there's no understanding. But there can be understanding, I think, as you said, of lopa as lopa, even though at that moment there can be lopa, which will obviously be a kusala, but there can be understanding when there's more understanding and understanding grows. No, I really appreciate your point. Thanks, Alberto.
And that's the same, whatever kind of loba it is, no matter loba for the Dhamma or loba for sound or loba for visible object, anything can be an object of understanding. And it's gone instantly. Like now, if there's loba, it doesn't matter at all. It's conditioned. It's not, doesn't belong to anyone. It's gone immediately. Are you trying to speak, Robert?
Sorry, I pushed the button by mistake. I wasn't trying to speak, sorry.
I think the point, it doesn't matter, is an important point, because if you find it so important whether I have loba or not, then there is again clinging. It doesn't help.
I'm not sure. Sorry, Nina. What was that point? I'm not sure. I think I got it, but can you just repeat that, please?
Excuse me, I didn't get it.
You just made a comment a moment ago about not caring or not minding, and I didn't quite follow what you said. I think I did, but I'm not quite sure if I did.
I think she was just repeating the point that I mentioned about, and Albert also mentioned, that if loba arises now, it's not important, it doesn't matter at all. It's not self and it's gone instantly. So minding about loba or akusala is so useless because it's just more clinging to oneself instead of just understanding whatever appears naturally.
Just a brief point about what Alberto was mentioning, sort of the loba for a positive thing, like listening to the Dhamma or so. The Buddha himself used that once for one of his cousins, isn't it? Whom he promised, he was talking about his wife, that he was so attached to his wife. And then he said, well, actually, by following this path, you could actually reach heaven, where you have much more beautiful girls. So just to say, there is even the Buddha used that sort of trick, if I may say that.
Yeah. Okay. I know. I'm familiar with. Familiar what you're talking about there, Wilhelm, when the Buddha's half-brother, Nanda, was thinking about leaving the Sangha because he wanted to leave because his newly married, or his spouse, freshly almost married spouse, was obviously he was pining for her, and the Buddha encouraged him that of what really was the important thing. So in a way, and he, as you said, he said that there are much more delightful things. But latterly, he did have, when he was reminded of this, that's his half-brother, he was rather embarrassed about being seduced by that. And but it was the Buddha's method of encouraging him. But in a way, you're right. He sort of dangled the carrot, in a sense, for him. But because of Nanda's accumulations, he was able to develop the path to a very high level later on.
Good. Yeah. I think, one of the difficulties here in this discussion group is that it is, I would say, very purist, actually a very high level of I don't know what to say, the understanding that has to be developed. Yeah, that's all I can say. It's actually, if I may quote that, it's what Bhikkhu Bodhi mentioned in the talk with Ajahn. You have to begin somewhere, and okay, let's say the more non-abhidhammic approach is, well, you have to start. So you start with meditation and all that stuff. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying it opens a sort of an avenue for people who have no idea what the Buddha taught. And of course, it's better to actually teach the real teaching right away and not go lead people the wrong way.
And I think it's better if someone is not capable of understanding the real teaching right away, then I think it's better not to teach them something that is not the real thing, with the idea that that will bring them to the real thing. I think that's a basic mistake. I think it's better to remain ignorant, if you like, rather than to develop a wrong practice, because that is more dangerous than anything else.
Well,
But the idea of one has to begin and to be somewhere, even that idea that is full of self is not helpful. The idea we have to begin somewhere.
well, I don't know. There is, if you look at the way the Buddha taught, he was actually beginning with, I think, with virtue, isn't it? And then when he saw that people were, and then he was, at some point he was speaking about heaven. And so on, when he saw that a person was accessible to higher truth, then he was giving the higher truth, and otherwise not. If he saw, he would just speak normal, kind of everyday kind of advice to people. But when he saw that, oh, they are accessible to higher truth, then he did that, give that. There is also one case of where Sariputta, I think he was teaching a Brahmin how to about the Brahma Viharas, and then later on the Buddha criticized him, or admonished him that he could have given him the real Dhamma, in, I don't know, in addition or instead, I don't know, but you see what I mean. There are instances. Yes.
I think in the gradual teaching that you mentioned, the Buddha is teaching kusala of different levels, and of course the highest level of kusala is that of insight, awareness and insight into the true nature of present moment reality. So there are occasions when, in order to prepare the listener for hearing about that, he taught about other levels of kusala first, but he didn't teach some other practice. It was always the truth and consistent with the teaching of realities as not self.
Well, okay, I just know, for instance, the Buddha was also, for instance, telling husbands should treat their wives well, and the other way around. Like a husband should give ornaments to a wife, or the means for ornaments to a wife, so that she could, and so on. All these kinds of mundane kind of things, So, I don't see any kind of non-self teaching in there. Well, maybe I'm missing it.
It's not inconsistent with the teaching on non-self, though, is it? To say that a husband has a duty to support his wife and to give her what she needs and necessities and adornments.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying he was also teaching other things, not just understanding the present moment.
Tana Jankap, I think what Wilhelm has brought up there is an interesting point. I'd like to hear what you feel about what's, they call the Anupuvi Kata. And sometimes this is spoken about in the text. Thoughts of, dana, sila, heaven planes, enjoyment. I think it's called karma, dinawa, and the other ones, the benefits of renunciation, nikama. Usually they're usually put in these 5 particular levels. Could you perhaps elaborate on that, Tanajan, these Anapubi Kata?
I think that the best thing in life is to understand the truth, even if it's so very deep and very difficult, not easy to attain or to understand it clearly at once. But what about right thinking? See, even talking about Anupupikakatha or whatever, what about right thinking? See, so right thinking is the best thing. Just to say that life is not permanent. Is it true? Can it be the beginning? Or that should be one dana, the first of Anupupikatha. See, that's why right thinking of the truth is the most important thing. If we just talking about dana without understanding the truth of life at all, is it helpful to be one day to understand the truth? Because it's not been taught at all. But when we talk about life in general, the truth of it, together with other wholesomeness like dana and sila and so on, but it has to be right thinking. What is it little by little about the truth? For example, is life permanent? Can there be anyone who will not die? See, just to think about the truth and what is there in life, unwholesome and wholesome, to have right thinking, what is better to follow and to understand and not to understand the truth, what is better. And we cannot understand instantly about the depth of the truth, but there can be the beginning to think about the truth of life, little by little, about how short it is and how unexpected it can be death at any time. And each one is going to where unknown, depending on what is now developing, to what path. That's why beginning to see the truth that life is so short, and what is the best thing in life that can be done or developed to understand the truth, or just not talking about the truth at all, just talk about dana and sila. What for? Is that the teaching of the Buddha? Not to help anyone to understand the truth, but the truth can be introduced from the very beginning about now. See, what is there now? Seeing, see everyone say, who conditioned it? Can anyone think about it? Or do we have to keep the idea of it's just very deep? It shouldn't be taught at all. So how can there be the beginning moment of understanding the truth? But when we talk about the truth from very beginning about daily life, can you get what you want? Why people are different? Today is so healthy. What about tomorrow? See, losing arm and leg. How come? And so on. The truth of life can be talked about, the conditions for whatever is there as not uncontrollable, as nobody can control, uncontrollable, because they are not what we take it for at all. Little by little, it doesn't mean rush to experience the Ariya Satya by developing such and such or not talk about it at all, just to introduce the truth, like talking to the children, for example, or the boy and girls about the truth at that very moment. When someone feels bad, very badly, what should be that very moment, depending on understanding little by little about that. About being kind or cruel, what is good for that person to be treated by the other, see? So the same as we treat the other, little by little, because it is different by conditions. Everyone would like to be good, but why not, see? Talking about anything, but concerning the truth from the very beginning, little by little, according to the person who can listen and understanding how much for each one. Better than not talking about the truth at all, about death, see, about what is so dear, but it's stolen or lost, see, who knows one day. Especially the body, it can be cut, arms and legs, see, by conditions. And the cause and the result, the good cause, what about its result? Wholesome or unwholesome result? See, let them think to be reasonable person, to know what is right and what is wrong, what is true and what is not true. About feeling, we can talk about feeling or anything little by little, because understanding how much that person can understand. For example, now we talk about the absolute truth to be thought about, to be considered what is right and what is wrong, to have more confidence of the right, so that it will develop by hearing again, considering again, understanding conditions for each moment again and again. Why people are different, see, poor or rich, very intelligent or very fool, see, foolish. Who knows? There are conditions even among animals, pets, and so on. They are different by conditions. Can that be understood little by little about conditions? It does mean to try to rush anyone to attain enlightenment instantly. It's impossible. It has to be right understanding which can let go little by little, the cling so very strong to that which is appearing, no matter when it's there, because of ignorance. That's why learn to understand what is there when it appears, because it's there to be studied, to know the truth of it. When it's just a flash of what it's seen, can it be something? The doll, the flower, the table, the shoe, the spoon, the fork, impossible.
Robert, were you trying to say something? No, I thought he was waving his hand.
Right thinking and wrong thinking is very important too.
And with the Anupubikata, with the gradual talks, the Buddha always stresses about insight at the end. So, for example, he'll talk about the way to a pleasant heavenly abiding and the sweet taste. And then having set it up, he then shows the peril, the danger, the impermanence, the unsatisfactoriness of a heavenly abiding, because nothing lasts at all. Whatever arises is dukkha, and sooner or later, it's the end of that lifetime too. So then he, having shocked the audience into appreciating how impermanent and unsatisfactory even the heavenly abiding is, he talks about the insight and the nature of conditioned realities. So the purpose is always for the understanding of realities, no matter what simile is used or what gradual talk is given. But it's never just about the development of kusala without understanding. So even when we read about dana or metta, it's with understanding, and it's with the understanding that it's not self from the beginning. So it just depends how it's read. When one reads and considers more and looks at the detail in the commentaries, one can see that it's always for the purpose of understanding realities, for the development of the vipassana jnanas and the following of the path. Never just to help people reach heaven, but for understanding the impermanence and the unsatisfactoriness of any abiding, any reality.
I don't know, Sarah, if we can always say never. There are times I explicitly remember when he spoke to some Brahmins about the advantages of giving, and he didn't indicate any much further than that. That's what the sutta said. And that's not very much, he just went to a certain level sometimes. That seems quite evident in some suttas. I don't know if he went all the 5 levels all the time. Yes, we know, as you said, that's what the dangers of attachment, certainly. But there are suttas where it talks about just giving. He talked about one woman. So I don't think we can always say every time, without a doubt, he always talked about development of insight. From my reading of the suttas, that doesn't always seem to be the case.
I think that whenever the Buddha taught, no matter he's talking about giving or about sanya or pleasant feeling or akusala in the Vinaya, it's always about the development of satipatthana. So one always has to read the teachings as a whole. So one can read one sutta and it may seem to be just about giving or I having more kusala, but it has to be read in the light of the teachings about dhammas as anatta and the development of understanding and awareness, no matter what the reality being discussed is. Otherwise, it's not the Buddha's teachings.
I think that goes without saying, Sarah, that we know what the Four Noble Truths are about. That's axiomatic. Well, ideally it should be, but I'm just saying that there are times when he did not speak about those areas. That doesn't mean to say that they should not be considered. Of course they should be.
Understood by the listener according to the understanding. So when he talked about dana or about sila, it's about the reality as anatta, not about I having more, being more generous, no matter whether it's said or not said.
And it is always about the citta. What is the citta now? So it's not self, but it's the citta and cetasikas, which are paramatta dhammas.
And without understanding, that cannot be known.
Sarah, I have sometimes wondered whether the progress of understanding does follow the same kind of trajectory as the Buddha's life, because of course we have to allow for all the previous lives leading up to the life that we know about, but in the Buddha's life, he started from the point of not being aware of the nature of dukkha and proceeded along a path that, really seemed like it was in search of something, because he'd, when he was awakened to the realities of life through seeing the aged and the sick, etc. And then he, not long afterwards, he saw the forest monk, and he realized that there was an alternative to the kind of suffering that he'd perceived. When he pursued and further understanding of that, he actually experimented and went down some kind of curious paths, like, what the depiction we see of the Buddha as being someone who is actually starving themselves almost to the point of death, etc. So in the Buddha's life, there were various points where it was almost like the understanding was in the process of evolving. And so hearing, and I'm wondering if there is a similar pattern in everybody who becomes interested in following the Buddha's path, from doubt and curiosity and exploration and a gradual appreciation of the more subtle aspects, as Ajahn keeps emphasizing. But at each stage along that journey, the truth will manifest to different levels of understanding. And so I think maybe what I think I understood Sundara was saying was that there were times when the Buddha perceptively knew what was right to teach at that particular time to that particular person according to their capacity to receive the truth and understand it, and it be of value in terms of that progression of understanding. It's just I suppose an observation. I don't know if you'd like to.
There were times, Maeve, certainly when I remember when the Buddha, after he was enlightened, he ran into that fellow, and he asked the Buddha if he was Untitled, if he had conquered the endless cycle of rebirths, and which was what people were seeking in those days. They wanted to know if there was an end out of this business. And the Buddha said that he was. And there were some other sharings of conversation that they had, but the Buddha deliberately went that way so he'd run into that fellow. And latterly, one day when he, in his own life, things hadn't been going so well, he did remember what the Buddha said, that he was an Untitled, and at the time he expressed doubt. He just said to him, well, it may be so. He wasn't totally convinced. But latterly he did remember that, and he came back one day eventually to see the Buddha and did become enlightened. So sometimes there were the precipitating conditions kind of put in place. But I do remember also there were some times when he talked to these these boys who were tormenting creatures, and the Buddha said to them, that wasn't such a smart thing to do. That wasn't the kind thing to do. So there would have been times when he didn't speak to them at the level of what he was enlightened for, or what enlightenment was all about, which was his mission. That was his mission, to share the deeper truths. But he didn't always, not in every single situation, do that. We know, of course, the Buddha, that was what enlightenment was all about, to share it. Although in the beginning, he did have doubt about doing that. But eventually, of course, we know, and we're very fortunate that he did, and that he was able to share those truths. But there were situations, as I mentioned, that he didn't always, not at every particular moment. But of course, we should bear in mind what the teachings are about.
And I think that the Buddha never suggested anyone should follow the course of his life. Everyone has different lifestyles, different life patterns, different habits, different accumulations. So he never suggested anyone else should go and live in a cave or become emaciated or this or that. He just taught, no matter what the lifestyle is, this is the truth. This is what is to be understood right now. And no matter whether one's talking about metta or dana or seeing or hearing, it is about the truth of that reality as Dhamma as anatta, no matter what one's life pattern, because otherwise so many people, they point and they say, well, this is what the Buddha did and he became a monk and this and that. But it's not about following another's lifestyle, but about the understanding at this very moment.
Actually, I wasn't really suggesting that there be that kind of imitation, but that in terms of how understanding develops, that there can be a tendency to excess at different times, and that can be excess in terms of trying, you know, as we were talking about earlier, trying so very hard to understand by adopting all sorts of practices or approaches, etc. And to me, that seemed not so different to what the Buddha did in terms of, you know, the ascetic practices, that it was the extremity of it. And that's what I'm suggesting in terms of the kind of the patterning that can perhaps go on, and that it's just part of, I suppose it's part of human nature that those tendencies will express themselves in different ways and different susceptibilities, etc. And at each point, there is a certain level of understanding which is maybe not available at that time. I'm not sure about that, but.
And gradually, whatever the tendencies, whatever the susceptibilities, whatever the weaknesses, the only way, the only solution to the problems in life is through the understanding that they are dhammas, that they are anatta, because there is no other way at all, no matter how one may try to fix it or do this or that or follow this or that practice. Actually, only the understanding can solve the problems in life. Maybe Jonathan or Jan would like to add.
Well, the Buddha, of course, was so skillful as to be able to know exactly what would most benefit particular individuals to hear at that point in time. For us, well, I suppose we take a more blunt bulldozer approach because we think it's good to hear about present moment realities and that they are anicca, dukkha, and anatta, and so forth, and the dangers of wrong view and wrong practice. But regardless of I think the discussion about the extent to which the Buddha taught vipassana, if you like, and every utterance is doesn't really get us anywhere far, because we all know that was the essence of his teaching. That was what was unique. And so on we can say every available opportunity he took to pursue that message. Except there may have been times when he saw that some other wording was going to bring the necessary result in the future, or would be the necessary key for the person to consider the deep meaning of the teaching. But yes, Maeve, I take your point that at different stages of one's life, one is susceptible to different forms of encouragement, if you like, different words of encouragement and be a condition to reflect, for useful reflection, to hear different aspects of the Dhamma. Yeah.
In relation to that, and I must admit the details are a little bit cloudy, but there was a time when the Buddha was asked about the idea of self, does the self exist or does it not? And he actually remained silent. And later, when I think it was Sariputta asked him about, why were you silent? And in reference to the person who had asked the question, he said that if he said there was no self, then that would be extremely confusing. And if he said there was a self, then that would just continue to support the wrong view. So it seems that to me was an example of making that sort of judgment about not offering that teaching at that particular time to that particular person.
That's right, Maeve. There was that particular fellow who the Buddha knew didn't.
The details, Sundara, please.
Well, no, I just remember once when this fellow approached the Buddha and asked questions, and the Buddha remained silent, and he asked again. I think he asked up to 3 times. Buddha just remained silent, and then then the fellow departed, and then Ananda said to him, "Lord, why did you not answer him? And why did you remain silent?" And he said that whatever I said, that fellow would have misconstrued it, and it would have been to his great detriment. If by his misinterpretation of it, that would be to his detriment. So I remained silent. So that's another example where he didn't say anything. Sometimes he didn't. He chose, and I think what John said was very accurate. That yes, at every moment we knew what his mission was, but there was not always the conditions for that to happen. And perhaps that's a good example of one of them. And there are, there are many, there are thousands and thousands of suttas. It's difficult to get through all of them, but there will be many times when he, as John said, he would have maximized on the situation and the proclivities and the tendencies of the individuals involved when he spoke to them. And of course he would have, if he knew, and we know he had in the morning times every day, he did the great net of compassion. He considered who can benefit today from my Dhamma, who can benefit from what the wisdom that I have. And he would sometimes travel with his psychic power to another place, so as to be there at that time, so he could be the most helpful he could be to that one particular person sometimes, or sometimes many, but he would sometimes travel, vast distances so that he could benefit that person.
He knew it was said that if he said there was no self, it would be taken that by the person that it's a self that has no self. So whatever was said would be taken as an encouragement of attaditi. So that's why he kept quiet. And yes, he knew everyone's anusia and asya anusia. He knew the tendency, so he knew when it was appropriate to keep quiet. But when he spoke, it was always about the truth.
Yeah, so Sundara, in the example you gave about the children, if instead of the children, there were like disciples of another religion, he probably wouldn't have said what he said, who might have taken his words to mean some form of a practice. So he knew it was children who just appreciate as much about the difference between kusala and akusala, and that's what he said, with no wrong understanding. So I think that's the difference.
About time, so Jan, do you want to say any last words before we finish?
Yeah, who knows, they'll have pattern of next life or just tomorrow. That's why no matter what would be, what about right understanding of what is there now? For example, feeling is there now, not known yet. And other reality, like memory, is there, nobody knows yet. So when we talk about the truth of it, it can condition more thinking about it to understand it correctly, no matter any lifestyle ahead in the future or tomorrow. See, just to understand what is there. Thinking about only few things is not enough. What about the rupa and the chitta and the sankhara khanda and the vedana and the sanya khanda? See, it's all there ready for study to understanding it as no one and nothing. And this is the point because it is the absolute truth. Otherwise, who know? Next life or later on, there would be talking about just like this. Even the word is not exactly the same, but just about whatever Buddha had taught. And what about reality right now, which can be known when we talk about it more, that what is there now to be known. Otherwise, there cannot be letting go the idea of self or the eradication of clinging to it, because it clings to all five khandhas. That's why when we talk about the truth of what is there, little by little, it can lead to understand this moment as it is, by conditions. What about Sanya right now? See, it's not remember, it's not I know what is there, but it is Sanya, a reality, see, not self. Learn about the truth of realities a little more, to have more confidence of no self. So that whatever is the object, right understanding is there, ready to understand the truth of it, because it's the development of what we heard from now on, little by little. สวัสดีค่ะ
Thank you.
ขอบคุณมากครับอาจารย์ สวัสดีครับท่านอาจารย์
Thanks